Hi guys, I know many of you are having a hard time right now finding a home that meets all your needs at the price that you want to pay. The supply of homes on the market has improved just slightly in many areas, but it still has a ways to go. This leaves buyers in a predicament. You can either accept a home that's less than what you actually wanted, or you can wait on the sidelines and watch home prices just continue to march toward the sky. And in many cases, this makes things even worse in the long run. So today I want to focus on creating affordable houses through good design. So I want to start with the idea of building homes up and down instead of out. In other words, the one-story versus the 2 or 3-story design. The idea of saving money by adding square footage in a second floor or a basement, it's not a new concept, right? But I think people are looking at the costs all wrong. And let me quickly say, I spent a decade working for a regional home builder looking at house designs to see where we could, minimize the cost without lowering the quality of the home. So I've got a lot of experience in this subject. So in this video, I'm going to show you how, with careful design, we can lower the costs of adding square footage to a new home by tens of thousands of dollars. So I want to look at 2 specific design examples and their related costs. Now here are 2 house material packages offered through Menards. For those of you that aren't familiar with Menards, they are a home improvement retailer similar to Home Depot, only I've found that their pricing for building materials are many times more affordable. So I want to start with the Daniels house plan and its associated material package. Now this house is a single-story ranch plan, 1,185 square feet. It's got a 2-car garage, 3-bedroom with two baths and a full basement. The material package for this house at the time of this video being created is $80,313. Now this includes the lumber package with 2x6 exterior walls, trusses, siding, soffit and fascia, roof shingles, doors, windows, insulation, drywall, cabinets, countertops, trim, flooring, plumbing, including fixtures, and electrical, including fixtures. Now this is basically all of the material required to build this home. So for you ultimate super DIYers out there, you could build this house for $80,313 plus the cost of the foundation if you supply all the labor for the framing all the way through to the final finishes. And let me just say, this discussion is strictly looking at house costs from the footings all the way through to the final finishes. In other words, the cost to build the structure. But most of you aren't probably going to provide all that labor. You either don't have the necessary skills or you just don't have the time to do it. So in our online owner builder class, we talk about how great it is that owner builders can choose. You can actually choose what work you physically perform yourself, and then you hire the pros to do the rest. So for this discussion, let's assume we're hiring out all the physical labor to somebody else. So after a detailed analysis of labor costs here, we determine the additional cost for all the labor is $82,200. So if we add the material package price to the foundation and labor costs, we end up with $195,988 to build this home. And as I've already mentioned, this is for the house alone. For the sake of this discussion, today we're talking about the house design. So I'm not including the utility connections, the permit, the land cost, because it really doesn't help with our analysis of affordable house design. But just so you know, if you choose to build one of these houses, you still will have those costs as well. So in order to really see how 2-story home costs are so much more affordable, let's take a look at the Cavalieri house material package. Now this house has 2,150 square feet of living space, a 2-car garage, 4-bedroom, 3.5 baths. So the material package for this 2-story is $117,429 at the time of this video. So you can already see that we're almost doubling the square footage of the house by building up, but the material package doesn't even come close to doubling. We've added 82% more living space for only a 42% increase in materials. Now, some of you are going to say that this is obvious because we don't have the additional roof or foundation when you build up instead of out. But it's way more than that. So what I want to do is a quick breakdown of the costs saved on a 2-story versus a 1-story design. Now, building up instead of out, we save on roof shingles and underlayment, the roof plywood or OSB panels, the roof trusses, attic insulation, footings, foundation walls, basement floor, foundation waterproofing, and insulation. That's a whole bunch of savings. So now let's add the labor into the 2-story plan, which is $121,364, and then add the cost for labor and materials for the foundation of $28,800, and that gives us a total cost of labor and materials for this home structure of $267,593. Now some of you may be asking, why is the foundation less expensive on the 2-story? Well, we're able to make the foundation smaller because we added square footage of living space above the garage. This is the other design tip for saving money. By adding square footage to the attic above the garage, we eliminate the costs associated with the basement. So now I want to talk about the crazy savings here and the proper way to look at the cost difference of a two-level home versus a single-level ranch home. The correct way to really see what the cost differences are is to compare the additional cost to add more space to the ranch plan versus adding square footage to a second floor above it. So comparing our costs, we see a massive difference. So to add square footage to the ranch house plan designed by really building out or horizontally, it costs $165 per square foot of living space. In other words, if we make the ranch plan bigger, this is how much it costs for the labor and materials. So to add square footage to the ranch designed by adding a second floor, it costs just $95 per square foot of living space. This is a huge difference. So some of you may be saying, I don't want the stairs that go with a two-story home. My question to you is, have you ever considered an elevator? I know it sounds like these are only used in high-end custom homes, but they really have become much more affordable. Let's do a simple analysis to see how a two-story with an elevator compares to the cost of the one-story without it. So going back to the numbers we just used, if we increase the size of the ranch plan above to be the same square footage as the two-story, we end up with a cost of $356,000 for labor and materials. So we just multiplied the additional square footage by 165. Then if we go back to the two-story plan and add $20,000 to add the elevator to it, we come up with about $288,000. Now keep in mind the two-story house plan would need some modifications to fit an elevator, but this analysis gives you a good idea of how much you can potentially save by building up instead of out with a two-story with an elevator. So one more really important design consideration that is the most affordable way to add square footage to either of these homes is with a finished basement. At current prices, you're looking at $40 to $50 per square foot to add living space to the basement. Now this is less than a third of the cost to add square footage to the main level of the one-story living space. And this doesn't even take into account that a lot of people do DIY on their basement because there's plenty of time. You can do it whenever you have time to do it, and it's not as difficult as building the house physically by yourself. So again, you're back to $165 to add square footage to the first floor of a ranch plan, one-story plan. To add square footage to the basement, you're at $40 to $50 or less if you actually do some of the work yourself. So to save on your new dream home, you might want to first go with the two-story house design, next add living space above the garage, and finally finish the basement to maximize the square footage with least cost. So we have one last thing to mention here. All of these costs are without builder or general contractor markup. So if you want to achieve these types of costs, you really need to become an owner builder, taking on the role of the general contractor yourself. So here you basically hire out the labor to do the work and you manage the build. So stop by and see me at ownerbuilderclass.com if you want more information.